Hello. So if you're applying to the 2026 cycle and you feel behind already, this video is going to hopefully calm your nervous system and give you a real plan. So let's talk month by month, season by season, so you stop the guesswork, okay? By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to do for the AMCAS, for the AACOMAS, when to write your personal statement ideally, when to start building your activities list, when to request letters, when to pre-write secondaries, and how to avoid the number one mistake for a timeline that costs people interviews. So I'm gonna, say ADCOMS a lot. When I say ADCOMS, I'm talking about what admissions readers are consistently rewarding. So competence, clarity, and trust. For more guidance, if you want to learn how I work with students, from personal statement through interview prep, grab your spot on my calendar. The link is in the description, and we can chat about how we work, how we kind of develop your messaging, and make you as compelling as possible from a candidacy perspective. All right, so here's the big picture. ADCOMS don't just evaluate what you did, right? They are evaluating readiness and execution. Timing is part of your execution. Applying early doesn't guarantee acceptance, but applying late, that can absolutely reduce your options, right? Think of the cycle like two races happening at once. You are building a strong application, you're writing your strategy, and then schools are kind of filling interview slots. Your job is to ready your application while those slots are still plentiful, or as plentiful as possible, right? You want to submit the strongest application possible. So it's not just hurry up and submit, but you want to make sure that time is on your side. So principle 1, writing takes longer than you think. The personal statement, the activity section, especially the most meaningful, the secondaries, is all decision-making. What's your narrative? What competencies are you proving or you want to shed light on? What evidence are you actually kind of supporting with these claims? What's your voice? All of this it's not kind of like a weekend task. It's layered thinking, it's layered decision-making. So you want to kind of really give yourself that time. Number 2, you can't rush letters and transcripts. Most important, letters. So there's going to be admin delay, there's going to be professors. Letters kind of, can lag, and that's okay. Transcripts can get lost. It's not to kind of give you a doomsday kind of moment, but you want to make sure that you have as much in your control as possible, and you control the time in which you kind of set these parts in motion. So for me, principle 3, the secondaries are the biggest bottleneck. Some students will get crushed by secondaries, and it's not just one essay. It could be 3 to 6, sometimes 14 essays per school. So you really want to make sure that you are kind of strategizing and pre-writing as much as possible. All right, so let's think about month to month. Right now, I'm filming this in February. So January, February, even March, you want to kind of think about your building that raw material, your story. Start with a Google Doc or even like a notepad in your phone and do application dump, right? For every experience that you have, what did you do? Metrics help here. What did you see? What did you learn? How did you shift your understanding of medicine? What were then kind of intangibles, things that you would not capture in your resume? What were patient experiences and how did you do that? So for like a clinical MA, I roomed 25 to 30 patients a day. I noticed language barrier issues, stayed late to explain discharge instructions to rows. Just truth, just kind of notice what you want to say, right? Then pick 3 to 5 kind of examples where you're in action. How are you showing service orientation, teamwork, resilience? How are you showing cultural humility, leadership, right? When are you kind of pausing to really kind of see that patient and connect with them? So at this point, bullet points are fine, right? What did you see? What did you learn? I roomed 25 to 30 patients a day. And then, I saw cultural and linguistic barriers. I saw how important context is to a patient's lived experience. Bullet points is fine. And then you kind of go into longer details, right? Later, volunteering after the clinic at a food pantry, I began organizing blood pressure screenings after noticing how many clients mentioned untreated hypertension. Or in both settings, I saw that access alone is insufficient. Patients need advocates who close the loop between information and action. So notice that we've kind of moved that to a competency. So you want 2 examples or 3 examples that aren't really captured in your resume. So a full paragraph. When Mr. Thompson refused dialysis, the room fell quiet. As a hospice volunteer, I had been trained to listen, but this moment required more than silence. Sitting beside him, I asked what worried him most. He admitted he feared becoming a burden to his daughter. Over several visits, we spoke not about machines, but about dignity. Watching the physician navigate this conversation with patience and respect, I was changed as a medical assistant. I shifted my understanding of care, not as intervention alone, but as alignment with the patient's values. That encounter solidified my desire to practice medicine at the intersection of clinical skill and human understanding. So this is one story, one transformation, one clear why medicine. Some paragraphs will have a couple of experiences coming together, right? So here's an example for medical assistants: activities, hospice volunteer, food pantry coordinator, organic chemistry TA. How do you then kind of start writing those, right? You want to maybe think about which ones are going to be story-based, like a hospice volunteer. Start with a moment, zoom in, show patient interaction, philosophical reflection maybe. For food pantry, about dignity and shame and food insecurity. Maybe there's technical language for a research assistant position. So really think about how you manage 200 sample database, how you presented a poster at a regional conference, co-authored a manuscript with that's in a submission. So think about what you're going to tell as a story, what you're going to do as tangibles. ADCOMs want clarity, right? Identifying really how you're going to make an impact. So for the first quarter of the year, talking points, start drafting your personal statement, ask for letters of recommendation. And then April, you are restructuring, drafting, redrafting certain sections of your personal statement. Those tend to be topic sentences, especially. So you want to make sure that you are making a claim that patients are navigating systems not built for them at times. That makes a claim, and then you show the evidence, and then you kind of show your impact. You improve clarity and logic. You want to make sure that each paragraph proves or discusses one idea. Does the reflection match the evidence? Are transitions not only logical, but building from one paragraph and idea to the other? This you can do also in your activities, right? This really, really is important for your personal statement so that it doesn't feel like you have 3 or 4 kind of independent small stories, but it's very, very important in your kind of activities, especially the most meaningful, that you're building from the 700 to the 1325 character. Remember, those are 2 separate boxes. So an example for most meaningful. One evening, I cared for Mrs. Alvarez, who had been admitted with heart failure. Though medically stable, she refused physical therapy. Sitting bedside, I learned she feared falling and becoming dependent on her daughter. I relayed this to the team, and we adjusted her therapy plan to include supervised sessions with additional support. Watching her regain confidence reframed my understanding of care. It's not simply restoring physiology, but restoring agency. This experience deepened my commitment to practicing medicine in a way that honors patient autonomy alongside clinical judgment. So notice how we got impact from the student. We really got to know what the patient needed. And so in the 1325, we had a story, we had transformation. And then maybe in the 700, which is a shorter one, because there's 2 separate distinct boxes, you can do kind of responsibilities and what you did. Okay, so April, you're verifying letters, you're finalizing activities, maybe, hopefully, and you're kind of continuing to work on your personal statement, right? That's the kind of crux of the primary timeline that's going to take the most time, in my opinion. In May, this is your systems month. Operational kind of assessment, finalize activities. You're continuing to work on your personal statement. You're verifying letters, update your coursework. May 1st, AMCAS opens. You want to make sure that you would take that time because it takes longer than you expect. You're then thinking about starting to organize a document with your school list, right? I didn't really kind of go into a school list, but you're kind of thinking about organizing all of the secondaries. They tend not to change. And then in June, once you have submitted your primary for AMCAS and AACOMAS, you are pre-writing your secondaries. From June 1st to June 28th, that is a magical moment I would say my goal for my students is to pre-write 3 to 4, 5 schools, not essays, schools, so that then you have the timeline as soon as those secondaries are coming in, that you are, pumping them out within 10 to 14 days. That is your window. When you get it in 10 days, you submit it. And so then you are looking at, your secondaries, especially your why us. So why do you want to attend this program? Your obstacles, why medicine, or what does social justice mean? So there are questions that could be kind of tricky, and not tricky, but that could invite you to pause and reflect. And so you want to make sure that you give yourself that time. So now you're in July. Do I even sleep, right? July, August is go time. Again, your secondary turnaround, 7 to 14 days, have 5 to 7 schools drafted before it hits July 1st. And you're kind of, retooling, recycling. You want to make sure that you have a bank of stories, right? From most meaningful, secondaries, personal statement. You want to complement information with your secondaries, not repeat. So September to December, I would say you are interview prepping. And no, I interview prep very, very differently than kind of just let's do a ton of mock interviews, right? I want to make sure that one, you are treating your answers, your kind of banking answers of like, your most meaningful patient experiences, know your primary and secondary application inside and out, really kind of have a clear delivery of tell me about yourself, why medicine, what was your spark moment, all of these kind of pieces of text, not so much to memorize kind of, questions, because they're going to deliver the questions differently. But you want to make sure that you are banking stories, banking evidence, really adding your experiences as muscle memory. If you are interviewing at research-heavy schools, make sure you are very, very comfortable explaining all of the research that you have highlighted in your personal statement, in your activities especially, and really kind of, be comfortable navigating the nuances of experiments, etc. So you want to make sure that when you're interview prepping, it's not a just do a ton of mock interviews. It is, for me at least, treat the interview prep as if it were a text that you are, like essays that you are submitting for primary and secondary. Make sure that you are really strengthening the content, the nuances of your critical thinking, the contours of thought that you're giving them, right? That it's layered, that it is always kind of advancing your best self, but that you are always kind of looking at expressing growth and patient connection, the competencies that I always like, the pillars I always talk about. So intellectual curiosity, community awareness, kind of that you have a keen sense of how you impact others and how others impact you. So less than memorization, you want to make sure that you are really strengthening the answers, at least the core 10, 12 questions. And then you are practicing that in low stakes ways. So you don't necessarily have to do 17,000 mock interviews, but you have to, or I would say I would encourage you to really practice as much as possible when you're like looking in the mirror, brushing your teeth. Tell me about yourself when you're driving in the car, when you're going for a jog. Just kind of do 2 or 3 low stakes practice questions and really make sure that you are dialing in your story from a delivery perspective, so that when you sit there in front of the ADCOMs, you wow them as you should, as you deserve, right? If you want to learn how I work with students, again, the link is in the description and you can jump on my calendar. We can talk about how we devise kind of a messaging, how we kind of strategize so that we help you stand out and really kind of earn those interviews and acceptances. I hope this month to month or like quarter to quarter idea, just to get a sense, will help you. Really, organization and strategy is going to be your best friend. You're going to feel so much more comfortable and confident, especially when that bottleneck comes in, which is the July, August, when all of those secondaries, and sometimes you can get 4, 6 secondary schools in one day. So like in your inbox, you wake up all peacefully, and then in your inbox, you're like 6. So you want to make sure that you are planning for that and that you're strategizing that and that you have support that helps you really kind of be confident in everything that you share with ADCOMs to really showcase how great you are, how amazing you are, and how committed you've been to this journey, that you are ready for the next step. Again, I hope this was helpful. Give us a like if it was, and share it with your pre-med friends. And I'll talk to you soon. Have a good one. Bye.